removed, just like you are.
So here's the thing that I think is really important for the media. We need to stop talking about the removal of duly elected officials as though this is some type of normal. I gave a press conference a few years ago after my removal where I talked about us losing democracy and how it's the equivalent of boiling a frog alive, right? If you stick a frog in hot water, he'll immediately jump out. But if you put him in room temperature water and then slowly turn it up, you could literally boil him alive. I fear that we are in a place where we have gotten accustomed to the unjust removal of duly elected officials as though it's normal. And I'm here to tell you it's not, and we shouldn't consider it normal. The voters, not other elected officials, are the ones who make decisions about who represents their communities, and we should not lose sight of that, lest we lose sight of our democracy.
Tommy Ziegler's in court today.
He was this morning.
Arguing that evidence should overturn the past 20 or 30 years. Do you believe that this evidence is strong enough, or do you believe in the evidence that was presented back when he was first convicted?
So my previous statement on this is that I advocated for Mr. Ziegler to have his day in court. I believe that the death penalty is so serious that if there is advancement in evidentiary testing processes, that we should allow people who were convicted earlier to take advantage of the newest testing that's available to them if they choose to do so in order to prove their innocence. That was the extent of my advocacy on this issue. After a thorough review by my Conviction Integrity Unit, it is their position that the state cannot stand with Mr. Ziegler in what he believes that the testing of the evidence shows.
That is State Attorney Monique Worrell, who is the state attorney for Orange and Osceola counties, speaking at a news conference live in Orlando now, where she talked about a lawsuit that has been filed accusing her of destroying records, of urging people in her office to destroy records when during her first time in office several years ago. She denies that, says she never directed anyone to destroy records. She said that is an investigation that was politically motivated, says she believes she's the target of an investigation that was launched just 2 days after her re-election. So that is the news from the state attorney. We'll have more coverage of that coming up at 4 o'clock on Fox 35 News Plus. Thanks for joining us here on Florida Live. Here's a live look at iDrive on this Thursday afternoon. Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We are tracking breaking news this afternoon as after a federal judge has ordered a temporary halt to construction of Alligator Alcatraz. This is a 2-week pause as attorneys continue to argue in federal court whether that facility is violating environmental laws. We heard yesterday from State Rep Anna Escamani, who testified in that hearing yesterday. This is part of a lawsuit from environmental groups and the Miccosukee tribe. They are concerned about wetlands, protected plants and animals in the Everglades there because that temporary detention facility built in the Everglades. Meanwhile, those federal hearings are ongoing. And as all of this plays out in federal court, Alligator Alcatraz is still allowed to operate. We know there are a number of detainees currently being held there. And so it will still be able to operate. They just cannot add any additional infrastructure or do any other paving or any other new construction work per that order of the federal judge. Well, it is a 4:01 right now. That means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4. And joining me live now is Fox 35 News anchor and reporter Marlisa Goldsmith. And Marlisa, thanks for joining us today here in Studio A.
Yes, happy to be here with you, Garrett. Change of scenery for us today.
Yeah, we're dealing with a little bit of a construction in our streaming studio, so here we are in Studio A today. And Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us. We begin with an international story today for our story number 1.
Yes, we do. So we learned from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in an interview with Fox News today that Israel plans to move forward with a total occupation of the Gaza Strip. So here's the deal. Netanyahu said he plans to remove Hamas, let the population be free of Gaza, and pass it to civilian governance that is not Hamas and not anyone advocating the destruction of Israel. Critics, though, are blaming him for the devastation, of course, that he's caused the millions of Palestinians who are still living there and left the region on the brink of famine, Garrett.
Yeah, there have been a lot of concerns, growing concerns in recent days and recent weeks about starvation and, as you said, that kind of impending famine that is getting worse. Here's some of what the UN and also an Israeli have had to say about that.
The situation is beyond catastrophic. Starvation continues to happen, and today the Ministry of Health reported 5 new malnutrition-related deaths in the past 24 hours.
I think that the time has come for the Israelis to show their opposition. I join in completely with what the former Prime Minister Barak said, the civil disobedience.
So we will, certainly a situation that we'll continue to monitor as the situation there continues to develop, because there's been a lot going on with that.
It really
has.
has.
It sounds like it will continue to.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that.
Story number 2, and this was a big announcement this morning from President Trump on Truth Social, calling for a new census in the middle of the decade and also saying he does not want it to include illegal immigrants.
No, he does not. He made it very clear in posting on Truth Social, which he often does. The president posted he has directed the Commerce Department to start working on a new census, noting that illegal aliens in the U.S. will not be included in the population count. I want to read you the post here. It says, I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern day facts and figures, and importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election of 2024. Now, just to remind you, the U.S. conducts a census every decade. The last census happened in 2020. The next one, of course, will be conducted in 2030. So this will be interesting to watch, Garrett. Yeah,
we should also note that in 2020, or regarding that 2020 census, the previous Trump administration, his first time in office, this was excluding illegal immigrants from that count was something that he tried. It was something that was challenged in court, and that it was something that was eventually kind of dismissed from court because it kind of became a moot point once he left office, once President Biden came back in. So it'll be interesting to see. I am sure there will be legal challenges to that. But you also talk about just the logistics of getting a kind of snap census done quickly. Kind of going to be interesting to see how they're able to make that work. One of the big questions is what this would mean. And that was something that I asked Dr. John Satcher, who's a UCF history professor. He's a presidential historian. And we talked a little bit about what the impact could be on a state like Florida. And here's what he said.
To me, it's interesting. If we discount, if we only count citizens, only count legal residents of the United States, it's possible we don't know where this is going to end up. It's possible Florida could lose seats. Clearly, we have a lot of undocumented immigrants in Florida, and if Florida loses seats, maybe that would hurt the Republican Party. I think this is something that not only has not been done, since it's not been done, it's hard to figure out exactly what the impact of this would be on the electoral process.
We should also note that the House Speaker, the Florida House Speaker, Daniel Perez, today formed or announced the formation of a select committee looking into redistricting and kind of what the impacts would be, and potentially, doing that redistricting process for the state's congressional districts. Yeah. And so they're looking for members to be a part of that. So just another element to watch, up in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Story number 3, and that was a bond hearing going on this afternoon, still going on, I believe, right now in Brevard County.
Yeah, so this is a story that we've been covering from the very beginning. The mother of Nathaniel Jennings, who is a 19-year-old football star, and he was killed in a Mother's Day shooting. She's frustrated with the Florida legal process after the man accused of murdering her son was let out on bond, even after prosecutors upgraded the charges to second-degree murder. So here's why that happened. In the 18th Judicial Circuit, upgraded charges and crimes aren't accompanied with re-arrest, so suspects are able to bond out on lesser charges, and that's what happened in this case. Now, Stephen DeJuiced is facing murder charges right now, but was originally charged with manslaughter. Because of new evidence, he's facing second-degree murder charges for Nathaniel Jennings' death. However, his bond wasn't upgraded, so that suspect is still out of jail at this point. And the defense argues that the suspect isn't a threat, and they think that he should remain out on bond.
And that bond hearing continuing at this hour. We did hear a little bit ago from a detective who testified about his interview with DeJuiced and discussing kind of what led up to that shooting.
Just before the shooting, Mr. DeJuiced and the victim, in this case, Mr. Jennings, were both in the downtown Melbourne area near the intersection of Vernon Place and New Haven Avenue. Mr. DeJuiced advised that he was there with several of his friends. He was talking to several female subjects right at that corner. Mr. Jennings and other subjects that he was with approached them. Mr. DeJuiced said that he recognized one of the gentlemen that was with Mr. Jennings, not by name, just recognized the face, but was not aware of who Mr. Jennings was. They proceeded to engage in a verbal altercation, which continued down the street towards that parking lot where the shooting took place.
So we are continuing to monitor that hearing. I know Fox 35's Marie Ettinger is inside the courtroom there for that.
Yeah, and his mom, the victim's mother, has been very outspoken since the death first happened.
Well, story number 4, and that is a warning about dengue fever.
Yes. Here we go again. We know that mosquitoes are nothing to play with here in Florida. If you've been here for any bit of time, you know that. Well, officials in Brevard County are spraying for mosquitoes to avoid dengue fever and control a potential outbreak that's happening in Florida. So at the end of July, the county first notified residents of 4 confirmed cases of locally acquired dengue. And here's what you want to be on the lookout for if you might be at home wondering, what should I be looking for? Could I have it? Here are the symptoms that you may experience. Dengue can present as flu-like illness with severe muscle aches, joint pain, fever. Sometimes you'll get a rash. Usually there are no respiratory symptoms. That's usually. And symptoms of dengue will appear within 15 days after you've been bitten by an infected mosquito.
I will tell you, Marlisa, mosquitoes love me.
Oh boy. Well, you need to stay in the house.
I do.
For the rest of the summer, Garrett.
I know that, they love to bite me, and then the bites will just swell up, and it's a whole thing.
I know, it's terrible. I mean, I guess you should maybe look at wearing some. It's hard to say in the summer to put on long sleeves.
You're going to wear long sleeves.
Pants. I know. Nobody wants to do it, but hopefully people are able to avoid those.
When I go out to mow the lawn, I've started spraying bug spray on me. And
how's that working?
It works better when I remember. It doesn't work too great when I forget, which is
that would be the point,
kind
Garrett.
of 50-50, I guess. But it's certainly important to keep in mind
Yes.
as we do see some of these illnesses, kind of crop up, because we know just how widespread those mosquitoes are.
Yeah, but it's good that the county officials are taking steps to try to prevent this from happening. Prevention measures are always good.
That is true. Well, Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us for today's Top 4 at 4. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back after this. And as we go to break, here's a live look at downtown Orlando on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us. And here is a live look right now at downtown Orlando on this Thursday afternoon. Sky's looking pretty good out there right now. But Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard joins me now. And Laurel, we are tracking the chance for some more storms and showers today.
Yeah, storms and showers for sure. And especially if you're on the I-75 corridor, you've kind of been looking out over the past couple of days. Today, yeah, you're going to be seeing a couple more of those storms, and you can already see those gray skies out there as we take a look over our iDrive camera, especially down towards Disney, which is in the other direction. We are still seeing more of those storms continuing to pop up. You can kind of see them scattered all across our radar right now, seeing a good amount of lightning out there, and that's only going to pick up as we head through the rest of the evening. So taking a look at a couple of the spots that we're keeping an eye on right now, especially right around Disney property. So Lake Buena Vista, Claremont area, seeing some thunderstorms, even following down the Florida Turnpike right over Kissimmee, making its way towards Haines City. Still seeing a couple of clusters of thunderstorms thrown in the mix as well. So going to be seeing those become a little bit more intense as they collide with the western sea breeze over the I-75 corridor as we head through the next hour or so. So be careful on that evening commute. Already starting to see a little bit of that collision as that western sea breeze starts to kick in, and especially Gainesville, Ocala, the Villages. You're probably going to be seeing more of those storms as we head through the rest of this evening. So let's get to the forecast. Through the rest of the overnight tonight, those storms going to continue to stay pretty active, especially down towards Tampa as we head through the rest of the evening. Quieting down as we head into very late tonight, but that means it's going to be a beautiful start to your Friday. A little bit more of that cloud cover sticking around tomorrow morning. And then as we head through tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening, pretty much a rinse and repeat. The eastern sea breeze going to be firing up early, so right around 2 o'clock, areas across the the I-95 corridor. Going to be seeing a little bit more of that storm coverage, combining with the western sea breeze right in the middle of the peninsula. So Ocala, Gainesville, even down to Orlando and Celebration. Going to be seeing much more of those showers as we head through tomorrow as well. Storms slowly going to be pushing off to the west as we head through your Friday night, and very rinse and repeat as we head into the weekend. So overall, right at around 2 to about 10 p.m. at night is when we're going to be seeing that sweet spot for those showers and thunderstorms as we head into tomorrow afternoon and evening. Storm threats, especially for the next couple of days, vivid lightning because of the collision of the sea breezes, very gusty wind, and that torrential rain, maybe even seeing some small hail associated with some of those stronger storms. So just make sure you are being careful out there. Continuing to keep those rain chances high through the weekend, and then even Monday and Tuesday, a little bit of high pressure kicking in. So we may start to see a little bit more of that relief from the rain as we take a look at the start of next week.
The good thing is those showers and storm changes keeping the temperatures a little bit cooler than what we have been dealing with.
Just a little cooler. Those temperatures, and I've call it a cool down because we were in the mid 90s late last week. So now being back down into the low 90s, actually not that bad. A little bit of a relief from the summer heat. I like it.
Yeah, we will take that. Now let's talk a little tropics here, because I know yesterday we were talking about Colorado State releasing their kind of revised outlook for the season. They didn't make a change. Today we got an update from NOAA. What are we looking at there?
Yeah, Garrett. So August is usually when we start to see a couple of tweaks to the outlook before the season really starts to ramp up. We got Colorado State University's yesterday. We'll take another look at that in a second. But today we got the NOAA Outlook edit. And again, this is the August edit. Originally in May, they were calling for 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, 3 to 5 of them being major hurricanes. And compared to average, still busy, but not as busy as last year. Average 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. Today's edit, they kind of defined and even almost streamlined that range a little bit more. Now calling for 13 named storms between 13 and 18, 5 to 9 hurricanes, 2 to 5 of them being major hurricanes. And we have a couple of storms knocked off the list already. So we're going to be continuing to see how this season progresses as we head through the month of August. And of course, September, which September 10th is the peak of the season. Colorado State University released theirs yesterday. Originally in April, they called for 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, 4 major hurricanes, which fits nicely with the NOAA outlook that we got earlier on in the season. And they also tweaked their numbers just a little bit lower, now calling for 16 named storms, 8 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. So slowly starting to see those numbers come down. Fingers crossed it does lead to a little bit less of a busy season compared to what we had last year, which I feel like anything could be less busy than that. But already so far we've had 4 on the list. So according to the Colorado State University outlook, we have about 12 storms left in the season, which puts us right at about Pablo for our season. So we're going to continue to monitor things very closely because, of course, it's busy. We have a 60% chance it's across the central Atlantic. Also keeping an eye on a 20% chance right along the East Coast. And we're still keeping an eye on Dexter. Dexter is now a post-tropical system, so we're not going to put a whole lot of stress on Dexter. However, Dexter is still hanging out in the northern Atlantic. It's this 60% blob that we're really going to be watching as we head into next week. So right now, this little cluster of thunderstorms right here, now called Invest 96. And this could be a tropical depression as soon as the weekend, calling for about a 10% chance of development within the next 2 days. But what we can see right here are models taking it westward, and then things really don't know where they're going. So models are all over the place by the time we get to that 5 to 7 day range. And really, it all has to do to a high pressure system that could shift ever so slightly to the east or to the west. If it shifts ever so slightly to the west, pushing closer to the U.S., this could be moving right into the Gulf. So that's something that models are hinting. But if it kind of stays where it is right now, it could kind of follow Dexter. So bringing it closer to the East Coast before slowly bringing it up towards Nova Scotia as we head towards the middle of August. But things very far out. We're going to be monitoring that very closely. But also those ocean temperatures, Garrett, it's toasty out there. Look at those ocean waters. It is very, very warm. seeing those temperatures in the 80s all across central Atlantic. And then even as we take a look more towards the west coast of Africa, temperatures in the 70s. Tropics really like that mid 80 degree temperatures. They're very picky when it comes to ocean temperatures, but mid 80s is their sweet spot. And that's exactly what we're seeing out there right now. And we're even seeing the warm ocean water a little bit closer to home. Garrett, check out these ocean temperatures. It is toasty right around the peninsula of Florida. The oceans go through heat waves just like we go through heat waves on land. They get a little bit of that warm swell and then they slowly start to cool down, slowly seeing those temperatures a little bit warm up. So that's also something that we're going to be watching as we see those temperatures right off the coast.
Yeah, and certainly explains why we're seeing kind of more of that activity starting to ramp up.
Yeah, definitely. And this is something that we're going to be watching as we head towards the peak of hurricane season, which is in September. I feel like we're kind of cooking through this year already. Crazy to think that next month is September and where we're going to be watching for the peak. One last zone that we are watching in the tropics, this area of low pressure system slowly starting to lose potential, because even as we pop back to graphics, we'll take a look at that in 1 second. This area of thunderstorms about 400 miles off the Florida coastline, slowly going to start to move into cooler water, which, like we covered, doesn't really like when tropics move into cooler water. And as we even pop back, this is where that system is right now, just off the coast of the Carolinas. So it's going to very quickly move into 60-degree water and almost get sheared apart because of that cooler air mass over that area. And that's why we're going to be slowly starting to move away from that system as well. So things that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on for sure, taking a look at the tropics as we head further into the season.
Well, the hurricanes and tropical storms, they're just like us. I don't like 60-degree water either.
Me either. I like this 80 degree, so I guess
right.
I am a tropical system, I guess, of some sort. I'll take that.
Right. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. And here's a live look from Port Canaveral in Brevard County right now on this Thursday afternoon. Keep it here on Fox Local and on YouTube. We have much more to come. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Give you a live look from our Launch Credit Union camera looking toward the Kennedy Space Center. And there was supposed to be a SpaceX launch earlier today. It was delayed, rescheduled for tomorrow. Hope to see that go off. I don't remember the time. I don't have that right off the top of my head, but hoping to see that SpaceX launch tomorrow. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, and thanks for joining us live on Fox Local and on YouTube. I'm Garrett Wymer, and good to see you today. This afternoon, State Attorney Monique Worrell held a news conference in Orlando. She's the state attorney for Orange and Osceola counties, had previously been removed from office in her first term, replaced by an appointee of the governor, and then was reelected to her post back in November. She spoke today about a lawsuit that accuses her of ordering certain records to be destroyed during that first time in office. That is something that today she denied and never directed anyone to destroy any records while she was in office, calling this a politically motivated lawsuit, and in fact said that she became a target of an investigation by the appointed state attorney that was launched by that office 2 days after she was reelected back in November. She said that is when that investigation was launched by the state attorney's office, ended up asking the FDLE to convene a grand jury on the issue as well. And so she is now going before a judge asking the court if these documents can or cannot be released. I want to play for you some of her remarks and some of the allegations, the claims that she makes in response to this lawsuit. Go ahead and listen in. This is Monique Worrell from a little bit ago in Orlando.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us to discuss the latest efforts from my administration to restore trust, transparency, and efficiency to the state attorney's office. Since returning office, we've worked diligently to keep the public informed about our efforts to identify and correct many troubling issues that were awaiting us from the past administration, including the need to comprehensively audit the office's operations. And as all of you know, an audit is underway, and we look forward to sharing those findings with the public soon. Another issue, though, that we've uncovered and will be discussing today is the politicization of criminal investigations under the prior administration. No prosecutor's office in this country should be used as a political weapon. It's time to bring clarity, transparency, and lawful resolution to a process that was broken under the appointed administration. I want to give you a little background. As some of you have already reported, there has been a baseless and defamatory lawsuit filed yesterday accusing my prior administration of destroying public records. The lawsuit falsely states that records were destroyed at my direction. First, let me be very clear. There was no such direction that was ever given from me to anyone on my team during my time in office. This lawsuit arises from a sham and politically and also selfishly motivated investigation in which those actively engaged in the investigation have repeatedly shown themselves to be just plain bitter and disgruntled about this community's decision to re-elect me as their state attorney. The politicization of our office's investigations that this whole ordeal has exposed. This is the real issue. And it's bigger than any petty sham grievances that they may have. So I am, in fact, taking action. First, in the coming days, my office will be filing a petition for declaratory judgment, seeking intervention from the court regarding public disclosure obligations related to this case. This motion was necessary in order to establish what, if any, records are suitable for release without violating the law surrounding grand jury proceedings. The courts are needed to provide the independence and transparency that is necessary to properly resolve this matter that exists because of a broken politicized process under the previous administration. Second, I am developing a policy that will ensure that this office adopts best practices for conducting administrative and criminal investigations, ensuring that they are kept separate and independent as is done in other governmental agencies. Such practices were unfortunately not followed under the appointed administration, resulting in politics to subvert the process and divert precious taxpayer
State Attorney
resources.
Monique Worrell, they're saying politics subverted the process, making a number of accusations and allegations against the appointed state attorney, Andrew Bain, who replaced her after she was removed from office and then who she defeated in that election. You heard her talking about the lawsuits, accusations against her and the response that they are filing. And again, this is not the first time she has criticized the Bain administration, saying she previously held a news conference a couple of months ago talking about mismanagement of the office, also allegations of misspending and questions about the budget as well. We are going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back. And as we go to break, here's a live look at Daytona Beach from our Hard Rock Hotel camera. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us. Here's a live look at Port Canaveral on this Thursday afternoon. Not a bad view there in Brevard County. Thanks for joining us and live on Fox Local and on YouTube. The new Osceola County Sheriff Charles Blackman says they are seeing an uptick in people speeding through school zones. Fox 35's Stephanie Buffamonte joins us live now via Zoom. And Stephanie, what is the sheriff's office warning people, or what are they doing about it?
So they have these cameras set up where if you go past them in a school zone and you are driving 11 miles over the speed limit, you will, like you see it right there, they will take a picture of your car and you will get a $98 ticket in the mail. So this went in place later in the school year last year. They were officially up in March, and from March till the end of summer school time, because they were still up during that time, there were 17,000 citations that were issued. So the sheriff's office says that kind of speaks to how many people are speeding in these areas. The place that we were at today, where we spoke with the public information officer with the sheriff, had said we went to Narcoossee Middle School, which is a busy road. It goes from 5 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour in that school zone during certain times, of course. But because of that, they say that, you know, it's a busy road. People are not slowing down. People are not adhering to those yellow flashing lights that you see. And that's why they are taking this seriously and decided that they need to put these cameras in place. The cameras will catch you if you're going too fast, and you will get a ticket in the mail.
Stephanie, I've got to ask, because we've seen these cameras in other places that school districts and counties have had some issues with offering, incorrect tickets. Some places putting their programs on pause with these. Is Osceola County concerned at all about mistakes within this system?
So that's why the county is working with the sheriff's office. So a deputy will be the one to look at the ticket. There will be a deputy there every day making sure the cameras are working properly, there is correct lighting, and then ultimately they will review all of these citations. So that's why the sheriff's office is on board to make sure that it goes smoothly. Last year they had the first, I'm not sure exactly the timeline. We'll have to check back on that. But for a certain time in the very beginning, they were just giving out warnings to let people know, like, hey, this is something we're doing. We have these cameras up and we're going to be utilizing them. This year, as the start of the school year on Monday, no warnings this time around. It will just immediately, you'll go into place and you'll get the citation.
It was kind of a shocking number of citations that they've issued with that. It sounds like a lot.
It does sound like a lot when you hear 17,000 from March until, July, and there were only a certain number in that time because the cameras were only up during summer school. So it is very jaw-dropping when you hear 17,000 tickets were issued during the school zones. But when we talked with the sheriff's office today, they just said people are simply not slowing down.
Yeah, well, they certainly need to, and hopefully we'll kind of learn that lesson at this point. Stephanie Buffamonte, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Thank you.
We are also learning more about this outbreak of sickness that the state says is believed to be caused by raw milk. We know we've talked before here on our show about the conversations, the growing conversations and push to allow for more drinking of raw milk, but seeing a number of illnesses around the state and some new information coming out today from the Department of Health about this. And Fox 35's Chris Lindsay joining us live now via Zoom. And Chris, what have we learned about this outbreak of illness from the raw milk?
Well, there was a total of 21 cases since January that the State Department of Health has been tracking, and they've linked all 21 of those to Keeley Farms Dairy, which is in New Smyrna Beach. They believe that they've been selling raw milk that has been making people sick. In those cases, there were 10 children there were 6 children who were under the age of 10. A couple of people had what they called severe issues. 7 others were hospitalized. So they pinpointed that. They say they're going to be working with the management there to, work on their sanitary protocols and whatnot to sort of nip this in the bud.
My understanding, though, is that you did reach out to this farm and they said this was kind of news to them.
Yeah, they told me that they were blindsided was the word that they used when addressing this press release earlier. They said that they had not been informed of any investigation or administrative action. They were not given any indication that they had committed any wrongdoing. So they tell me that they're going to reach out to the State Department of Health themselves, try to get some more information. So while this has been happening on one end, it appears, at least from this representative, that the other side was unaware that it was happening.
What is the concern, Chris? According to doctors and officials, what is the concern with drinking raw milk?
So when you pasteurize milk, that's the milk that we're all known to drink, or you put in your cereal, you're burning off a lot of the bacteria that is deemed dangerous. You've heard of E. coli, Listeria, Salmonella, things like that. When you don't do that, those bacteria are still present, and that's when you have particularly smaller children or elderly people at risk. So you can become very, very sick from this. I spoke with a doctor earlier today who says this is not just like you'll get a stomach ache and you'll be over it in a day or so. This is something that can, and we've seen in this case, can put you in the hospital. 7 people were hospitalized based on the disease that you contract. You could end up in kidney failure. So this is something that Experts want people to be educated about if you so choose to drink raw milk. But again, it's not legal to sell it for human consumption. It's only in Florida. It's only for pets and animals.
All right, well, certainly something to keep in mind there, as it seems like we hear about raw milk more and more, but like you said, illegal to sell it for that purpose, and certainly we know, according to doctors, not necessarily recommended for humans to drink it as well because of these very serious risks.
Certainly, it's just not regulated like you are accustomed to. The milk that you drink every day has very strict regulations. It's pasteurized, and they get a lot of those dangers out of it, and that's why it's safe to drink. The raw milk, not so much.
Yeah, Fox 35's Chris Lindsay, we appreciate you following up on that, and thanks for joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus this afternoon.
Thank you.
Well, earlier today, Florida State CFO Blazin Golia was in Jacksonville, continuing his tour of locations that the state is conducting its DOGE audits of. We know there have been a number of those. He was in Orange County earlier this week. He's been in Bradenton, Gainesville, Broward County, a number of these local governments that the state is now looking into, trying to cut spending, looking at allegations of waste, of fraud, and of abuse. And the CFO saying today also about warning governments and warning people who work in these governments, these officials, not to alter or delete any of these spending records that the DOGE team is going to want to come in and look at. He said they've gotten some reports from some whistleblowers that may be happening. That is part of what the CFO said when he was speaking to reporters in Jacksonville earlier today. Take a listen.
We are going to continue to investigate this, and this is a warning to any local government that tries to hide the spending, try to get scrub the information from government servers, that we will subpoena you, and we will make sure that we get the information. In addition, if we have enough information, we are going to send in the digital forensics team from FDLE and find out who is scrubbing the information. And then we may refer that over for criminal investigation. So this is serious. When we say that we want to make sure that we're rooting out the waste, fraud, and abuse, that is for the benefit of the taxpayer. We will not tolerate any covering up of any information in order to fulfill our mission. So, as far as our efforts here in the city of Jacksonville and across the state of Florida, property taxes are a very, very big issue. We have seen an explosion in property values and corresponding property taxes, the same way we saw in the mid-2000s, where local government budgets post-COVID have increased anywhere between 60 to 120%. Now, if you start with a baseline of pre-COVID and you start indexing of what their budget should be around and add population and inflation growth, it is nowhere near almost double from what we are seeing. So our teams are on site today. We're looking for some of the things that they should not be spending on, things that if taxpayers knew that they were being charged for in property tax relief, they would probably not agree with it. So the governor and I have been pushing very hard, as others in the legislature, for property tax relief. The governor and I would love to see us getting rid of property taxes for homesteaded properties. But what we are going to see is a reflexive impulse to attack on from local government to say that they can't cut for a myriad of different reasons. They're going to come out with a parade of horribles and saying that we can't cut property taxes, we can't cut spending because of this reason or that reason. And a lot of times they're going to bring up public safety, right? And that is just absolutely a scare tactic, because the first role of government is to make sure that we protect its citizens. And the only way to do that is to make sure that we are funding fire and police. If local governments went to zero-based budgeting, the very first things that they should be funding are fire and police, and then start adding on necessary services over that. But what they view as necessary service may not necessarily mean the taxpayers agree with that necessary service. So we are looking forward to shining a light on excessive local government spending, things that directly affect the taxpayer. home affordability in general is a big issue here in the state of Florida. I will not allow the state of Florida to turn into New York on my watch. With that, any questions, more than happy to take them.
Was there any resolution to the hiccup that we saw the other day with the technology use agreement? I talked to the mayor's office this morning. They said there's no formal resolution, but they've given the team all the files they've requested.
Yeah, that's just proof that they didn't need it in the first place. Look, Florida law is very specific. There are no conditions on us coming in and auditing them and reviewing them and their books for waste, fraud, and abuse. So when they come out and they ask us to sign agreements, or some counties have asked us to sign non-disclosure agreements, this is all public record. This should all be very easily attainable, and we will not stand for anyone putting bureaucratic red tape in front of us for us to do our job, which is to root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
State CFO Blaise Ingoglia speaking there in Jacksonville. Well, here's a live look of the city. A beautiful shot on this Thursday afternoon. Keep it here. We have more Fox 35 News Plus after this. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon on Fox Local and on YouTube. We are getting closer to the start of the college football season, and UCF getting ready to open the season coming up later this month against Jacksonville State on August 28th. A lot to look forward to, and still getting to know some of the players on this roster as well under a new head coach, Scott Frost. And joining us live now to talk about all this is Sean Green, who is an independent reporter and the host of Charge On, a UCF podcast. And Sean, we always enjoy talking with you, and thanks for joining us this afternoon here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Same here, Garrett. Always enjoy coming on. I greatly appreciate you having me.
Sean, let's talk here because I know you just kind of launched a new series talking, getting to know some of these players and who they are. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's called Meet the Knights. It's a brand new series on the Charge On YouTube channel that we launched. Basically, I felt that there was a need for something like this. The college football teams are changing every single season. Fans don't really know who is suiting up for their team. And I felt it was necessary to kind of get to know just a few of the players. This is 6 players on the roster. There's 70 new players. And I felt the need to kind of do something. And I think we made a really good product. So it's a fun watch. Episode 1 dropped Monday. We've got 2 more coming out. But I think a lot of fans have told me that they've learned so much about these guys that, frankly, they don't know more about any other guy on the roster.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to get to know them as as people underneath the helmets. We've heard Scott Frost talk about this team as kind of like a band of mercenaries, because they are all so many of them are new, and so there really is it is nice for fans, I think, to kind of have this ability to connect and learn a little bit more about them. Now, you talked about the first episode. It did drop with Keegan Smith and Carter Miller. Just kind of walk us through what you did and how you got to know them a little bit.
Yeah, it was great. We got to go out and play some golf at Twin Rivers in Oviedo. Keegan Smith was on UCF's roster last year, but he transferred from Central Michigan. So he was a part of the Gus Malzahn staff last year, got to play under him. So it was really interesting talking to him and kind of hearing his situation. And then Carter Miller played at James Madison, played at Louisiana Monroe, was one of the highest ranked portal ads. He was the highest ranked portal ad for UCF, but was one of the highest ranking, transfer offensive linemen in the portal. So we got to go play some golf. It was a 2v2 with me and my co-host against them. And then we got to sit down and talk with them. So really getting to see you see it. Their personality, getting to really know who they are was a joy for us. And again, it makes you really feel like when you're watching them on Saturday here in the next couple of weeks that, oh, I know him. And it's not just a number and a name in the back of a jersey. Yeah, what was it like being on the golf course with them? It was a little intimidating. I mean, if you look at the first 2 minutes, like you see us standing next to them, and it's me and my co-hosts who are average male height, and average male weight against, guys that are 6'2", 6'3", 300 pounds. So definitely was a little intimidating, but it was a really fun time. Like I said, they're really good dudes. So it was fun to kind of compete and just have some fun competition. And then to be able to get to sit down and just be transparent and talk openly without having to feel like you're talking to a journalist, you're talking to just a buddy across from you. That's what we tried to emulate, and I think we succeeded with it. And when's the next episode? When can we expect that? So the next episode drops on Monday. It's with Braden Marshall and Jalen A.P. Hayward. We went out to Keg Social in Waterford Lakes. They took they went against each other. I stayed away. I was kind of the host. I let them compete in some arcade games there. It's very fun. Their personalities, if you thought the first episode was good with their personalities, just wait until you see some defensive backs take at it. And again, we also interviewed them, and they said some very interesting stuff as well. Some about the previous staff, about the new staff, kind of their journey in college football to this point. That'll drop Monday, August 11th. All right, so a lot to look forward to with that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the players kind of on the field here and where things stand at this point. How is that team kind of coming together at this point as we get closer to the start of the season now? Garrett, it's kind of not surprising, but a little surprising. It's been mentioned that there's 70 new players. That's kind of the thing that continues to get brought up, that this is a brand new roster, brand new coaching staff. But I think there's a big confidence with the team, with the coaching staff, that this team is actually more dangerous than people think. I think Scott Frost has mentioned it multiple times that the team has the talent. It's about if they can come together and become a team, right? Because there are so many new players. I think that's doing better than most people would think. They're not coming out and saying it too much. I think these guys are really latching on to each other. They have created a bond. I think those relationships have been happening, and I think this team might be better than people think. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I do think this team is going to surprise a lot of people potentially. It could go downhill, but I do think there is going to be a surprise compared to what the public perception is. What do you make of the quarterback battle at this point? I mean, I think anybody's guess would be as good as mine or yours. Nobody knows. I don't think, my prediction has always been I do not see a quarterback one getting named until maybe week one, potentially after week one. Scott Frost has come out and said they're all playing good. Nobody has gone out and taken the job. Nobody has, just gone on a different level in the quarterback competition, which could scare most people, and it should. Like, at the end of the day, that tells you that there's not one clear-cut answer. But what it also does tell you is Scott Frost is not just going to pick a guy. They are going to go through the process. If somebody doesn't win it, somebody doesn't win it, and they're going to pick the best guy for the job. So they're going about it. It is getting a little late. August 7th, first game's in a couple weeks. But, if he takes his time, I'm sure they'll pick the right guy.
What do you think we're coming off a season that we saw disappointing performance in that QB role. What do you think they need to see from the starting quarterback, whoever it may be, this season?
I think it's two things. I think it's leadership and really taking leadership and ownership of the team and not making mental mistakes. At the end of the day, you need to protect the football. And UCF didn't do a very good job of protecting the football, but also they didn't really feel like they had a leader. KJ Jefferson, it was assumed, he's going to come in and just be the leader of that team. And he was probably one of the worst quarterbacks to ever grace a UCF jersey or play for UCF. So I think for this new roster and this new staff, right now, there hasn't been a guy that has been the leader and has taken that role. And then again, maybe one day one quarterback plays exceptional and the next day he has a couple interceptions. I think they want to see some consistency. That's probably the better word. Consistency, and whoever's the most consistent is most likely going to win that job.
You talked about seeing the potential there for this team to kind of overperform expectations. What do you think that looks like?
For me, and again, I think overperforming would be 6-6. Because frankly, I really don't think anybody believes that this team is going to go to a bowl game. I do think the team believes it. I think the team believes 6-6 is the floor. I think for the public perception, overperforming would be 6-6. I do think the team can get to 6-6, but once you get to 6 wins, then you're dealing with house money. If you could somehow get to 7 or 8 in year one, then you're talking about a year 2 with Scott Frost where the expectations are going to the moon. Right now, I think the expectation is, first, do better than last season. 2, try and make a bowl game after that. And then 3, if you can do that, then you're dealing with house money and people are really going to know UCF. And the one thing I do want to mention, Garrett, is the first 2 games for UCF should be wins. They are teams that UCF should beat with the sheer talent alone in the Power 4. By week 3, or they get a bye week and then they play North Carolina. If North Carolina is undefeated up until that point, UCF could get a national TV game like a Fox Big Noon kickoff to come to campus. So that also will help UCF in terms of the public perception as well.
I want to circle back to where we started here to end this and talk about, we talked about the importance from a fan perspective of like your Meet the Knights series and kind of getting to know some of these players because there are so many new ones. What are some of the challenges that you think that poses for the team and getting to know each other and the importance of this time, throughout the summer before the start of the season for them to kind of get to know each other and gel a little bit more because so many of them are brand new?
Oh, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Luckily, this coaching staff has been trying to implement that since spring ball. Like, as soon as the guys got on campus for spring, they knew ultimately, and this is where the challenge is right in front of them, right? You have trying to make the new staff gel. They don't know a lot of each other. They have to kind of figure out each other. And then their main goal was, okay, we need to implement our offense. We need to implement our defense. But then the most important thing is we need to get these guys to know each other and to buy into each other. Because why are they going to want to fight for one another if they don't know one another? So that's been a huge talking point for the staff. And again, I think they've said they believe the talent is there. They do. They think they have the talent on the roster. And it's going to come down to, can they become a team? Not just a team that goes out there and runs out together, but truly wants to fight for one another. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for UCF.
All right. Well, a lot to look forward to, hopefully, in the upcoming season. In the meantime, definitely a lot to look forward to. Looking forward to seeing your next Meet the Knights drop coming up on Monday. So Sean Green, independent reporter and host of Charge On, a UCF football podcast. Always good talking with you, and we appreciate you joining us again today.
You as well, Garrett. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Sean. And thank you for joining us this afternoon here on Fox 35 News Plus. Fox 35 News at 5 is next.